I just figured it was working in the background, but I had it muted.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God.
So here's our second try.
Sorry.
We are live
Oh dear.
again, hopefully for real this time. Darn it, YouTube.
I think it's still, oh gosh, I'm on the video. It still says live stream is starting soon.
Which is fine. I mean, it should take like a minute before it begins.
Oh, right, of course. Yeah. Okay, let's hope it pops up in a minute.
Yeah.
Josh says, let's hope it's second time lucky. I really hope so.
I see that. So the chat is working.
Technology has been driving me nuts this week. The whole time I was at Ollie's, his internet was down, his Wi-Fi was down, and like phone calls to the company, nothing was working. It was like, and my iPad wasn't working, and then I was trying to tether from my phone, and it was like, chaos. I hate technology. I hate it.
Something is happening in the second window. I think we're live now. Joshua,
Yay!
Please tell us in the chat if you can see us.
Yes, please do.
He won't hear this for like a minute, but when he hears it, hopefully he will tell us.
Yeah, exactly. God, I wish it was in time. Like, it's so annoying.
Yeah, there are a lot of negatives to YouTube's Google on air, Hangouts on air, but there's just, yes, aha! Joshua says that he can see us, which is great.
Awesome. My God, I can see you. Awesome.
We're also joined in the chat by
this is great.
Polka Dots. We're also joined by Collie of the Wobbles.
Hey! Hey, girl, hey. Oh, this is awesome.
Well, cool. I'm glad that it's working now. Let's go back to the beginning, and I'm going to play my theme song if I can cue this up.
I think you should.
You should. Holy moly, that was just ridiculous.
Chatting for 20 minutes.
I mean, I've done worse. I've had worse problems than that, but
oh, that's true. You know, filming for an hour and then you find out your mic wasn't on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, or you actually weren't even filming at all. Like you.
But here's my theme song to get us started, for reals. All right. Boy, I tell you, YouTube.
Like I said before, I do love that.
Thank you so much. These viewers didn't hear that is those are my friends of the Bitter Dose Combo based out of Washington, D.C., and Matt Henry of the group said that I could use their music in any of my videos that I like. So that's what I do. I'm glad that you like it.
Always great having muso friends. Always great having muso friends.
Absolutely. Artistic friends in general, actually. It's such a huge resource to have artistic friends.
Totally. I mean, I'm lucking out here. Ollie's an amazing artist, and like, I mean, I've got his art up there, one of his old pieces. But it's great. Like, he's designing me a new blog banner thing, and like, it's just it's a good resource to have there.
But for people who are just now tuning in, now that our live broadcast is actually live, let me welcome you to my Paulcast. I am Paul Roth of PaulTalks channel. And this week, I am joined by my lovely co-host from Wales, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
From Wales, by way of Canada, by way of England.
There's a huge Canadian flag behind you. I think people could pick up on that if they're watching.
Yeah. It's a bit obvious, isn't it? That's actually signed by Chris Hadfield, the astronaut, too.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, who I actually hung out with for an entire day. I'll tell the story now, may as well. I was working at the bookstore in Cardiff at Waterstones, and he had a signing there. And because I was like the only other Canadian in that shop at the time, they kind of allowed me to like handle the lineup for the signing, and I got to just chat with him like the whole day. And he signed my flag and put it behind him for all the photos and everything. And like, it was amazing because like I got to speak to someone who'd actually been in space, and that just blew my mind. But yeah, cool. Hi guys, I'm Bunny. I'm Bunny of the Bookish Bunny, which is now B by Bunny, which is such a cliche bloggy style of name, but it works. And yeah, that's me.
Well, I mean, it gets across very quickly that you are a lifestyle vlogger. I think it's
definitely
because of the style of it.
it's a bit Goop by Gwyneth Paltrow, whatever it is.
A little
you know
bit.
What I mean?
But that's,
a little bit. But...
there's nothing wrong with that. She's gotten very far with her Goop brand. So
exactly.
I hope that you do as well.
I just wanted something that was like snappy and kind of a big change from the Bookish Bunny, you know, which was such a sort of isolating thing. It kind of put me into a little box and I felt really stuck there. So yeah, it's good to have a change.
I agree. And I see that a lot on YouTube, is that people will try to like come up with funny, clever names that isolate them into a particular genre, and then they're kind of stuck, especially if they blow up and they get really popular. They're stuck with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like crab sticks or whatever. He's like,
or Akila Hughes. She had a Smoothie Freak as her YouTube channel, and she still does.
Oh, did she? Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, that's crazy. Yep. That's absolutely crazy.
We are joined in the chats already by Joshua, who's helped us troubleshoot this live show thing, and Matt Polka Dots, and Kali of the Wobbles, who I think is one of your viewers.
Yeah, she's such a cool girl. Absolutely love her. Yeah, it's great to have you all here.
Awesome. Joshua says that he won a competition on your channel to get a signed book by Chris Hadfield. That's cool.
Yeah, and he'd forgotten that's how he got it until now. It's funny, like that was like 2 years ago now or whatever, I guess. So kind of a long time. It's crazy to think.
I know Joshua. I know 24 hours a year because I saw when you and he were doing the live show for him in order to accumulate a couple more hours of footage for his channel.
Yeah,
exactly. That's how I discovered him, and that was it's cool.
Yeah, that was a fun and crazy live show. Just kind of a little less planned than this one, but that was good fun. That was like the last one I've done too. So this is it's nice to be back in a live show.
I'm so glad that you're co-hosting with me. But as we've discovered already, the best laid plans of mice and men don't hold up to YouTube problems.
Yeah. Oh, bloody YouTube, I tell you. Well, when I went up to the YouTube space in London a couple of times, I'd always be like, right, do you want my list of suggestions, Google? Do you just want to hear my few suggestions? How about we get rid of that Google Plus thing and all that stuff.
Did you sing them a song by Emma Blackery?
I might have. No, actually, I didn't. I do like Emma Blackery though. She's quite cool, quite a cool girl.
She is that. So on the previous and now defunct failure of a live broadcast, I had said that I discovered you because I think you were still kind of in your booktube phase, but you had just posted a video about the weird Dear Girls trend where you were kind of espousing feminist views to fight that. And immediately I was enamored with you and your channel.
Oh, thank you. And I was so glad you discovered me and everything, because ever since we've been good mates on here, and it's great. And I hope one day we get to finally meet in person, because you're just one of my favorite people online. You know, online you've got your closer friends, and then you're not so close friends. You're one of my close friends online. So.
Oh, that's so lovely to hear. I feel the same way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad.
And I mean, I think that our friendship is such to a degree that you're like one of my, for example, I have a best friend from college, my friend Mandy, and we can go months without talking because we just have lives. She's in California. I'm on the East Coast of Washington, D.C. We don't mesh up very well. But when we do talk, it's like no time has passed at all.
Exactly. That's like me and my best friends back in Canada, Becky. It's just no time has passed, and you know that you're not talking for any bad reasons or whatever. I mean, with me, I've got my health stuff going on. I've got my new kind of lifestyle between two cities and all that stuff, and it's just hard for me to get on social media at all. So
I understand.
I mean, I do. I make a good attempt at trying to still tweet and all that stuff, but it's usually only when I'm at home, like where I am now, at my actual home with my parents. But when I'm in Cardiff, I forget about social media entirely. It's a bit bad when you make a sort of not a career, but an interest out of the online community. It's kind of bad.
Well, if you've got things that are occupying your time in Cardiff, like an Ollie, then it's hard. It's hard to keep up with your social media responsibilities.
It's true. And it's funny because, you know, I'm such an online person, such an oversharer. Like, everyone knows everything about me. Like, you know, my mental health issues, my physical health issues, the fact that I'm having a boob job this year, hopefully. And it's not for the usual reasons, you know. We can get into that later if anyone has questions. But like, Ollie is just not an online person. And he said, like, just try not to talk about me too much tonight, because he's such a private person. He's only got Facebook because where we met at work, where I don't work anymore, but he still does. The schedules are posted online on Facebook and stuff and all that good stuff. But he wouldn't even have Facebook. That's the only thing he has, and it's the photo on there is an old photo, and he never updates. The only updates on his page are from like me tagging him in things. So,
well, I mean, so, he does his own artwork as well. Does he like post any of his artwork online?
He does post it on Instagram, which is kind of spurred on by me. But that's his Instagram is Ollie_Sutcliffe, I think. Let me double check. There might be an art in there somewhere. Nope, Ollie_Sutcliffe. It's linked on my Instagram too, which is b@b.bybunny. If anyone wants to check out either of those things, I know self-promo terrible, but I more just want to promote Ollie's art because he is extremely talented, and trying to get his art out there a bit more and everything. But yeah, he does do Instagram for that, but everything else, he has no issue with me being a YouTuber or anything like that. He doesn't like, not like that. He just doesn't want to be part of it himself, you know? So, which is fair enough. I think if I wasn't totally 100% into the internet, I'd be that way. I'd be one way or the other, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this space, the internet, is where I live. It's my social interaction space. It's my not working space. So, I would hate to leave it behind.
It's your comfort zone. Yeah,
it is my comfort zone. But you know, if somebody's physical life, meat space life meets all of their social and emotional requirements, then why would you need the internet? I understand. That's
exactly. Fine. Yeah. It's interesting though to meet someone who just doesn't have this attachment to social media that most other people do. Like, you know, even grandmas and middle-aged women and stuff have Facebook, and let's not get into how they use Facebook with their minion quotes and such. But I mean, hey, they're having fun. You know, as long as they're having fun, that's all good. But yeah, everyone uses social media except for just very few people, and it is interesting talking to them. And because of that, I am being with someone all the time who isn't constantly on their phone checking their statuses, you know, their Instagram likes and stuff like that. It means that I pick this thing up so much less than I used to, which is, I think, is healthy for me. It is good. It is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But I'll never leave it entirely behind. Never.
Good. We need you here on the internet. My general, like, personal guidance, rule of guidance of behavior is, I try to mirror whoever I'm hanging around. So if I'm hanging around, like for example, at VidCon, everybody was posting stuff on the internet constantly. So it was fine that I was doing the same thing. On the other hand, I've been to like little conferences for coaching, and people are not at all on the internet. They're entirely invested in the event that's happening right there. And so I did the same thing.
Right, exactly. You do have to pick up just literally from social cues and figure out what people are comfortable with. And especially with vlogging, like if you're doing a daily vlog or whatever, you need to check that people are comfortable to be in the background of it, or, you know, are they happy to have your dinner together filmed quickly or whatever, or do you need to make sure their face is never in the shot? It's an interesting thing. It is.
It is
kind of tricky to navigate sometimes.
I'm sure that it is, but it requires communication and respect. And I imagine that you and Ollie are pretty good at communicating with each other now.
Definitely, yeah. It's been, you know, just over 3 months now, and yeah.
Happy 3 month anniversary.
Thank you. We're such sops. We every single month celebrate, and it's very, very soppy and dorky, but it's a good excuse to have a date night at least once a month. You know, like very quickly you can forget about date nights and stuff like that. And we did go to this amazing restaurant on Wednesday that was like North American style. I had chicken and waffles, so
oh, nice.
I was so happy. And they were like playing music like My Chemical Romance. I mean, hello, I was over the moon. Ollie lost me for about 3 minutes there, just singing along. And they even played like Billy Talent, a good Canadian band who are like, they were one of the first good bands I really got into in Canada. And yeah, it was a cool place, really cool. So date night's good though.
Date night is good. I'm glad that you are keeping it up. That's hard to maintain. Yeah. In a relationship, and 3 months is no small thing. There are people who don't even make it that long in their dating histories.
It's true. I've never made it past 3 months, to be honest. So it was kind of a milestone for me, definitely, that we hit 3 months and everything is a-okay. So, well, better than okay, but you know what I mean.
That's fantastic.
No hints of, the impending breakup happening. We often joke about that. In the impending breakup, in the inevitable breakup, you can keep that. That's okay. I'm always saying that.
I've been in those sorts of situations as well. In your previous relationships that didn't go past 3 months, were things like YouTube or your health or your geographic location, were those things that factored into why they had to end?
Geographic location has factored into it in a way. I've always found myself in somewhat long-distance relationships, even with my other most serious relationship I had. He was from my town, but he went to school away most of the time. So about a 3-4 hour train ride away in Ottawa in Canada. But I think health probably played a little bit of a part in it, more so mental health than anything, because it was before I was properly stabilized on medications and properly diagnosed with bipolar disorder, as well as the other things. But I think that one other serious relationship was very much hindered by my eating disorder as well, which was quite interesting. Now looking back on it, it's really interesting for me to realize how it affected me and how it affected the way that I felt in a relationship, and that I felt like I just couldn't be in one because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, let alone be intimate with anyone. It was hard for me.
So
yeah.
Hard. Now you don't shy away from talking about your various health experiences on your vlogs and in your blogs. Can you tell us about that, especially for people who are not as familiar with you? Can you tell us about some of your health situations?
Sure. I am literally an open book, sometimes to a fault. I'll start with the mental, because that was what we were just talking about. Mental health wise, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2, bipolar 2, back when I was about 13, I think, after initially being diagnosed with depression. And then I went and saw a really good shrink, and he said, right, no, you clearly have bipolar. And me and my parents at that young age, we were not prepared to take that diagnosis. And we very much had some internalized stigma about it. And we're like, no, it's just depression. It's just plain old bog standard depression. It can't be bipolar. And then I ended up getting to about age 18, 19, or was it 17, 18? I can't remember. And I ended up having a lot of manic episodes as opposed to depressive states. And I then had enough of them that it was then diagnosed as rapid cycling, and then as bipolar, just straight bipolar 1, normal bipolar, that you've had enough manic states as well as depressive states to qualify as having, the real serious bipolar. Yeah. But I had a couple of hospitalizations and stuff like that, and finally got stabilized on good medication, which is still the same one I'm still on today. If anyone's wondering, it's Abilify, and it is bloody brilliant. If you ever need to ask your doctor about a really good mood stabilizer for bipolar, consider talking about Abilify, because
how long have you been on that now?
Not sponsored.
That would be a hell of a thing for a YouTuber to be sponsored by Abilify.
Oh my God, imagine that. I've been on that, I'm 24 now, since I was about 18 or 19.
Oh wow.
And that's
amazing.
Yeah. And it has stabilized me. Yes, I still have ups and downs right now. I'm actually going through a tiny bit of leaning towards depressive state. But it definitely, I haven't had any of the ups, as in like manic episodes and dangerous states of being. But in my other mental health issues, I deal with OCD quite severely, although I've really tackled that in the last year or so quite a lot, which I'm very proud of. I deal with ADD, which was diagnosed at a young age and is definitely something I still have. I never grew out of. And GAD, all the Ds, basically, which could come across as a very dodgy sentence to say. All the Ds.
What is, yeah. Yeah, let's not quote that out of context. But,
yeah, exactly. Don't quote me on that one.
What does GAD stand for?
Generalized anxiety disorder.
Generalized anxiety. Okay, I thought it was, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. It's just the most sort of bog standard anxiety diagnosis. But I find my GAD goes more with the OCD and stuff. Like they very much are connected. And then I did battle and recover from EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified. I know I'm coming across now as like just a diagnosis collector or something. But if anyone knows anything about mental illness, then you'll know that very often they go together. You have multiple diagnoses you have multiple axes to the diagnosis, don't you? So
in the chat, Joshua just quoted, "I have all the Ds, Bunny Hopkins."
Oh God. Oh, that'll be on my gravestone. Oh, brilliant. But yeah, I fought and recovered from an eating disorder that was basically anorexia, but because I never got below a certain BMI, it was classified as eating disorder, not otherwise specified. It's very silly. It's very silly to do that because my body was not functioning. The reason why I sought help was because I nearly had like a heart attack in the middle of the night because I was so malnourished and skinny and not nice.
It's so weird the qualifications that they have in order to make those diagnoses. You'd think that in that situation they would just give you like a lower level of anorexia as a diagnosis rather than EDNOS.
Yeah, or not even that. Just say, right, you're anorexic, but you just don't have this part of it or whatever, you know? Like it is very silly. But I did study psych for a year at uni, so I know that the DSM and all the issues that go along with it. But yeah, I think that basically wraps up all my mental health issues. But I also have a lot of physical health issues, which is more the bigger thing in my life these days, obviously. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a rare connective tissue disorder. It affects my collagen. It's genetic, so I get it from my mum, who also deals with it on a day-to-day basis. I spent quite a while in a wheelchair because of it. It's debilitating. It's very painful, and it affects a lot of your other, like your organs, your heart, your skin, your everything, your teeth. I've got so many corresponding illnesses that go along with it, from silly things like receding gums because of the collagen, so the skin is just damaged easily, to more serious things like Chiari malformation, which on its own is a serious diagnosis.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one. What's that last one?
Chiari malformation. It's actually it's an issue with like the brain stem, the cerebellum, the spine, everything. Basically, my cerebellum, my brain's too big for my skull, essentially.
Well, you are smart. You're very clever.
Yeah, maybe not so much with this though, because if I'm smart, then my brain would figure out how to grow properly. but the cerebellum herniates into the spinal column, so it's actually quite a serious thing. This is why I can't go on roller coasters anymore and stuff now that I know I have it, because any sort of direct impact of any kind could possibly paralyze me like that. So it is something that there's a really not easy, but a big brain surgery for that does cure it in most people. But if you also have EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, you can't have that surgery as well because it won't take because of the collagen. They can't place the cerebellum back in place and it won't stay. It will just herniate again. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of chronic pain, chronic fatigue, disability. I walk with a cane nowadays all the time, but I've been through braces, wheelchairs. I had a service dog Rest in peace. My beautiful Lexi, she was actually a mobility assistant service dog, and she passed away just a month and a half or so ago. And she was absolutely beautiful, but she helped me a lot, actually, because a mobility assistant service dog, a lot of people don't know that you can even have service dogs for mobility, but they can do quite a lot of cool things for you. So yeah, that's my big long ramble about everything, which is a long ramble, but it is kind of important to get out there because it explains a lot of what we'll be talking about, I'm sure, you know, like...
Yeah, I mean, I figured that for a combination of mental health and physical health issues are going to affect every aspect of your life.
Exactly. And that's why my blog is so largely based around just the things that happen in my day-to-day life, living with all these different issues. But the one main thing that I always live by is that I'm a warrior, not a whinger or a whiner. Like, I fight it. A lot of people in my situation, or even lesser situations, will just give in. And, you know, a lot of EDSers are in full-time wheelchairs. They haven't fought to get out of them like I did. And I'm not demeaning those people at all. There are many people who can't get out of those wheelchairs. They are genuinely worse off than me with their physical ability. But there are many that do just allow the muscle atrophy to happen and don't fight. Like, I go to the gym, I lift weights, I do yoga. I do everything I'm not supposed to do, but it actually does, in the long run, it builds up the muscle around the joints and stuff, which helps hold everything in place. I'm not currently going to the gym because I can't afford it, but I have gone through lots of periods of weightlifting and, like, you know, squats, clean and presses, deadlifts. I do the whole thing. So it shows that you can fight back and build up your strength and everything. It's something I'm quite passionate about in regards to EDS. So I
mean, that's remarkable that you have fought so hard to be as mobile as you are. But I mean, from some of the things that I've seen you specifically share on the internet, I figure that that's the downside to it, is that then you are accused of having an invisible illness, and people treat you like you are undeserving of sympathy because you look fine.
Yep. Exactly. The invisible illness thing is an issue because if I put my cane aside, I look totally fine, other than the fact that, like, sometimes I'm extremely pale. I do have severe anemia as well, which I just last week underwent another IV iron infusion for. So
yeah, but you could just be goth. People couldn't.
Exactly. I'm alternative anyway. They'll probably just think I'm a total goth girl. But you know, sometimes I do look quite ill, but when it comes to disability, it's not always that obvious. And I mean, I get the issues with, if I park in a disabled parking space, I get shouted at. And even when I've then brought out the wheelchair, because of the fact that I can walk from the car door to my wheelchair, they think I must be faking. And I'm like, do you see that wheelchair? Does it look like a wheelchair that costs 50 quid? That wheelchair probably costs more than your car. Thank God Canada paid for it. But just the fact that I've got a proper wheelchair, is that not enough proof, like, that it's real, that it's a real illness, you know, or the service dog, or... I mean, I've had it all.
We have to blame, like, pop culture and TV shows and movies where detectives will uncover the faking handicapped person who's trying to do it for, like, I don't know, insurance or whatever. I think there's too many stories about that people don't realize that just because you have some disabilities doesn't mean that you have to be in the same state all the time. You're constantly changing.
Just like sexuality and all those good things, it's a spectrum. There is such a huge spectrum of disability. And for me personally, I travel along that scale all the time. Some days I'm a 2 out of 10. Some days I can literally be bedbound, a 10 out of 10, completely disabled, if you want to call it that. But that there's also a big issue with that in the UK right now, and over the last few years, because there's a lot of benefits cheats who fake disability to get on disability living allowance and not work and just get government money and everything, which sickens me because I personally... disability living allowance is actually very hard to qualify for. When you have a legitimate illness, it seems harder to qualify for than if you fake something. I don't know how those fakers get by, actually get accepted for the highest level of payment, because because like I'm legitimate, and I am not paid enough to live on a month by any means. I am on DLA, quite proudly so. It's, you know, I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of to seek help from the government. That's why we pay taxes.
That's why it's there.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the UK is, if you can get accepted for it, they do offer quite a lot. But I mean, I'm on the lowest. There's like 3 tiers of levels of payment you can get, dependent on how disabled you are, which sickens me on its own. Just that fact that someone literally comes to your house. They're not a doctor. They're nothing. They're hired by an agency. Someone comes to your house and evaluates how disabled you are.
Awful.
And they were actually caught being paid bonuses for giving more people the lowest tier.
They had like a quota? That's awful.
Yeah. So that's probably why I'm on the lowest tier. The person probably went, oh, right, I'll get a bonus if I add another one on. She's young. She can deal with it. She can get a job. Which is, I mean, that's currently something that's one of the reasons why I'm feeling a bit down, because I'm having a real hard time finding a job that there's no barriers for me with, that I can actually feasibly do. I mean, I am well enough most of the time to hold down some kind of a job, but there's many jobs that I couldn't do, obviously, such as bartending, which I did do for about a month and a half before Christmas, which is how I met Ollie too, at the bar. He works at the bar. I didn't just meet a customer and get involved with them, but yeah, I mean, like that's proof enough, I think, that I push myself and I try my best to be as normal a functioning member of society as possible. But still, I'm made to feel like I need to prove myself and prove my worth in society and prove that I'm not scrounging off of the government or that I'm not faking. Because, I mean, I'm an ex-dancer too. And some days I will get down and I'll attempt to do one of my old dance moves, or like I was a break dancer. So every now and then when I'm a little bit drunk, I'll admit that if I feel strong enough and I'm drunk, so I'm feeling no pain, I'll do a baby freeze thing, which is like just this little balance. It's very similar to a yoga pose. It's just a balance. And I've now had to think, oh, right, I should stop doing that, because someone could literally take that photo to the government and go, look, she's faking her illness. It's like, but just because I can do that one day, you don't see me the days that I'm stuck in bed in sheer agony on morphine and it's not even hitting the pain, you know? Like,
yeah. I mean, and also, you know, the point of assisting people who have an illness that has a progression is to help them have a better life. Like, if you have a better life, then you can feel better about things like doing athletic activities. If you weren't getting assistance, you probably wouldn't feel good enough to be able to do those things.
Exactly,
it's a cycle.
Yeah, and part of the assistance is a mobility portion that you're supposed to be able to use for like taxis and buses and stuff like that. And if you're not able to use public transit, they will actually pay for a car. I, of course, didn't qualify for that, even though, I mean, I pay £5 for a short taxi ride. Oh, like how many times a week? I don't know, because I can manage the 20-minute walk into Cardiff sometimes. And let's just say this 20-minute walk should take a normal person about actually it's about a half-hour walk. So a normal person is about like 15 minutes. But for me, it takes about, half an hour. And then by the time I've done my shopping or done whatever I need to do in town, I need to get a taxi back. That adds up really damn quickly. That is what the government should be helping with, right? Like the things that it's not a chosen expense. I don't choose. I'm not doing it because I'm lazy or because I'm carrying a bunch of bags from shopping or something. I just literally, I literally couldn't get home if I didn't take a taxi, So,
yeah,
I'm getting riled up here. I'm getting riled up.
But everybody in the chats is on your side. So like Collie the Wobbles said, EDS survivor, not sufferer.
Yes, exactly.
Matt Palka says, it's like people are looking for a reason to find the fakeness. Joshua, and we're also joined by Kat Young. Hi, Kat. They both just cursed out the Tories. Yes.
Yes. Solidarity for that.
And then Matt Palka said, maybe people fake it to get benefits, but hopefully not in the majority. And then asked, do you have any funny bar stories or moments you can tell us about?
Oh, funnily enough, me and Paul were talking about this earlier, before the chat went live. Well, for a start, let's just say I've got this here with me because I am drinking a cider. I promise I'm not an alcoholic, guys. It's an end of the week treat. I don't have the, as we've just realized, I do not have the money to be an alcoholic. So yeah, it's really good cider if anyone's wondering. It's Weston's vintage cider. There we go. Yeah, I showed Paul this, which is a bar blade, which is what every good bartender will have. And I was saying the funny thing is, like, it's kind of known that you could use this to protect yourself in a small way if you had to, like, because it's a proper solid metal and it's blunt, it's rounded, but you know, you could kind of hit someone in the eye with it or something if you get attacked in a bar, because the craziest things happen when you're a bartender, literally. Like, honestly, so many stories just from my short, 6 weeks or whatever it was there. I had a rather unpleasant sort of sexual assault issue, which happened. The bar I worked in was made up of 3 bars, and one of them was called Beer Keller, and that wasn't the bar I actually worked in, but I had to go and like cover in there for an hour or 2 hours because it was so busy. It was a student night, and Beer Keller is like a German bar with like bands and stuff like that, and long wooden tables that you can stand on the benches and dance and, dance with your steins of beer and everything and all that good stuff. But I had to go and collect those steins of beer when they were empty and, excuse me, and like clean up any spillages or whatever so that people wouldn't slip off the benches and fall flat on their faces, which did happen. But as I was walking through the middle, crotches and butts are basically at face height as you're walking down the middle. So a stupid, probably 18-year-old uni bloke sees me and grabs my face and just like starts humping in my face. I obviously freaked out, pushed him away, went straight to the bouncer and was like, right, get him out. But I mean, that's just the kind of thing that happens to bartenders, especially at kind of a theme bar like that where a lot of students go and stuff. But what else? I had one wonderful night where I think I basically dropped any bottle I picked up. That was when the final straw was realizing I was just not, I wasn't a terrible bartender, but because of my health and my weakness, when I got tired towards the end of those like 10-hour shifts on a Saturday night, I would start dropping things, and I think I just dropped a bunch of bottles and I just burst into tears. It was terrible. Ollie said that the other night someone was stopped at the door with a knife. It can be a pretty scary job, surprisingly, but it's also a bit like running a daycare, because honestly, you feel a bit when you're the sober person on the inside of the bar, and everyone's on that end, and they just you turn into toddlers when you're drunk, basically. And it felt like running a nursery. It was very much. It put me off drinking to a large degree, and put me off being around drunk people or going to clubs or bars or anything. It was an interesting experience for sure. But I still do like cider. So
obviously, it was a very rewarding one. A, you were there for quite a while, and then B, Ollie. So it worked out, really.
Yeah, exactly. Met Ollie on my very first day, and he trained me on the bar and everything, and I think we went on our first date. It was the 30th, the day before Halloween. That was my first shift. I was put on my like second shift ever. Was like a 12-hour shift on Halloween night. That was hard as hell. But yeah, we met on the 30th. By the 4th, we went on our first date. 4th of November. And then the 5th of November is actually my birthday. So on our first date, Ollie asked me to be exclusive and everything, and like, can we actually date each other? Because like we just knew immediately, and that's our anniversary date, because we've been together ever since, and we basically have been inseparable. I basically live at his place a lot of the time, as everyone's probably noticed, because I'm just always in Cardiff, and if I'm in Cardiff, then I'm obviously staying at his. But yeah, it's good times. It's definitely very, very much worth it to work there for that short period of time.
Well, that's good. I
definitely.
mean, the silver linings are important to pick up where they fall. So
Oh,
those
100%.
so those are the two places where you live. You're at the two places where you are these days. You're at Cardiff with Ollie, and then you're at your parents' house.
Yes, exactly. And my parents' house is in just a small seaside town, a half-hour train ride away from Cardiff. So yeah, it's good. I am definitely more of the time in Cardiff these days, but I think eventually we'll hopefully get a place together and all that stuff. And we have talked about it right now. I clearly need to get a job before I'm able to do that, but or the government needs to start allowing me to live a normal life and pay rent and stuff. You'd be sickened to know how much the government reckons I can live on a month.
Well,
It's
I'll
sickening.
remind you that I live in the United States, where
That's true.
where people who are not at the top of the capitalist ladder are treated like garbage. So
That is true. So you probably wouldn't be shocked at all.
in the chats, I see that Kat Youngs approves of your choice of vintage westerns.
Awesome. It is good. It's the first time I've had it. It's really nice, though. It's nice. I'm only just getting into cider, so.
I feel like I've had a Weston's as well over here at one of our fancy cocktail bars, and I liked it. I'm a cider drinker if I drink anything. Although I don't usually drink. If I do drink something, it's probably a cider.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it lately because it's just like it's more crisp and refreshing, I find, than a beer. Although I'm Canadian. I'm a beer drinker, obviously. So.
Joshua says that working in a bar can be rough as heck. I once dropped an entire crate of beer in the cellar.
Did it come out of your pay? Did it come out of your pay, Josh? Oh, that's horrible. I hope they were kind with you with that one, because oh god, that was always my worst fear.
Matt says bartending sounds like both ends of the spectrum in terms of intensity for win or lose. It does.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I sounded like I probably hated it then, but I absolutely loved it. It was really hard for me to quit. As a social kind of person, I mean, I'm a very anxious and socially anxious person. But once I'm in a social situation, and also if the bar was a buffer between me and people, and I felt very much like I was performing, which obviously I'm a performer. I like to perform. I'm fine when I'm on a screen or when I'm on a stage or whatever. So it felt very much like being on a stage. And I loved chatting to people all the time and recommending drinks. It was always my favorite thing when someone came up and said, what do you recommend? What's your favorite beer? And I'd always recommend, if they wanted something light, a Moosehead, which is Canadian beer, which you can't buy in many places at all over here. So the fact that we had bottles of Moosehead was like a big deal. And everyone always loved that. They're always like, oh, it smells like weed. I'm like, yeah, it's skunky beer, exactly. And it's funny, like the people who are on the level with that stuff, because they'd say, oh, it smells like weed. And then the real noobs at life or whatever, because they'd go, it smells strange. They wouldn't know what it smells like. It was quite funny. Or I'd suggest a Brooklyn lager if they wanted a lager, but something that's more tasty. Or I'd suggest, I've forgotten the other one, an IPA. I can't remember which IPA it was though, but those are three good beers. Like any IPA is really good. The Brewdog Punk IPA over here is amazing. And yeah, good choices. But it was always my favorite thing when people would ask me for a recommendation, then come back and order the same thing again. They'd say, I really like that, I'm drinking that for the rest of the night. Surprisingly, really satisfying, and like you feel like you've done a good job.
Well
Even though it's
done,
only
you.
at getting someone drunk. You've only just helped get someone drunk, but it's not like you've done brain surgery or something.
Well, I mean, it helps make a person's night better. Speaking of,
exactly, yeah.
Joshua asks, how was Cardiff for you at night when your shifts ended?
Yeah, pretty scary. I did take the walk into Ollie lives, like I said, about, for me, well, after a long shift, it would take like an hour to walk home because I'd just be shuffling. I had to do the walk on my own a couple of times. I would always, Josh will know, I would take like Cathedral Road rather than going through Llandaff Fields and the castle grounds and everything. I'd take just the well-lit road path route home. But most of the time I was getting back with Ollie. So, and obviously that was how I first started staying at Ollie's was because we were actually together, but also I was working late shifts, and there would be no trains back to Bank Station. There'd be none that late. So, I mean, like Ollie last night, or the night before, last night I think it was, didn't get home until like 4:30 in the morning.
Holy moly!
That's the other thing people don't realize. If a bar closes at like 2:30 or whatever, people are out by like 2:30. And like if you're closing down the bar, restocking for the next day. Hi, Drew. Oh, she's looking over here. Sorry, she just hello. Oh, adorable. But yeah, if you're closing down the bar and everything, like that's another hour, 2 hours tacked onto the end, and it's hard work. People just don't give enough credit to bartenders, especially if you're a cocktail bartender too, which in around the world we all had to be. So yeah.
Yes, I commiserate. I've heard some stories about, first of all of the punishing hours and the annoying behavior of clients from my friends who are bartenders, but then also just like the unseen work that they have to do afterwards, especially if it's been a rowdy crowd, or it's been a celebration or something. It takes forever to clean up afterwards. Oh, totally. And the one good thing about Around the World and Beer Keller and Shooters is that the whole establishment of these 3 bars in this one complex, we use all plastic. We don't use any glass cups. And there are multiple excuses we give as to why we do it. But basically, it's just because we get extremely rowdy crowds and stuff. And I shouldn't be saying this, should I? Oh, well. It gets extremely rowdy. And it's way easier you can carry way more plastic glasses, that doesn't make sense, plastic cups, and you don't have the smashing of them and everything, and like even the steins in Beer Keller, they're plastic. Smart.
Which is good in a way, because also if you're carrying like 6 steins or whatever out, then it makes it a lot lighter having them be plastic, not glass. So there's a lot of reasons why we do it, but it did help with the cleanup, at least with the rowdy crowds. I think you probably saw, I posted the venue photographer got a photo of me on Halloween night, actually, my first full long shift, carrying like 50 glasses piled up to here, and it looks really impressive, but it's all plastic, so. That's still impressive. It's still impressive, though. Well, with my clumsiness, it is. How long were you there at the bar? Well, I started on the 30th. I literally got hired on like the 26th or 25th or something. Started on the 30th. And I got hired there just because I was drinking in there. And I asked a bouncer if they were hiring, because I was considering getting a job. Like I was feeling healthy enough to start to get a job and everything. And they just offered me the job on the spot. I had an interview on the spot. Was offered. They never saw my CV. They never, nothing. Like it was kind of really cool. Like it was a cool way that I got hired there. But I think I left I went to Germany on like the first or second week of December, and then I quit like the week after. So I was there a good 6 to 7 weeks. Like, yeah. That's a good start. Yeah, not bad. Oh. We're losing Joshua. Joshua's leaving the live stream. Thanks for having tuned in and helped us out. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Josh. Love you, Josh. And we still need to do like a duet or something of some description. Josh, get onto that. Yes. Definitely. I want to see that. That'll be good fun. We're thinking of doing. Do you know Avenue Q at least? I know of it. Yes. Do you know the I Wish I Could Go Back to College? I don't know that song, no. It's a good one. It's actually like 3 people that sing it, but we figured out a good duet for it, and so I think we might do that, like remotely record the 2 separate parts still, hopefully. I'm hoping we can do that at some point. He says totes in the chat, so he's up for it. Yeah! Yes, Avenue Q! Awesome. We'll do a thing. That sounds good to me. Excellent. Cool. Especially now that I'm getting back into the music a lot more, so. Which is great. So I mean, I know that you play bass. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. That's kind of my best instrument naturally is alto saxophone. Okay. Funnily enough. Yeah. A bit of a random one, but literally it was thrust at me in jazz band class in high school, in like second year of high school. And my teacher just had a feeling I'd be good at it. She was the greatest teacher, Hutchie Poo, I called her. It was great. I could be late as long as I brought her a hot chocolate with extra milk and extra whipped cream or whatever. As long as I brought her that, I could be as late as I wanted to. So, which is bad in a way, but it was that kind of. I went to an arts high school in Canada, so we got away with a lot. But she thrust it at me, and I just picked it up like that. Like I'm not being big-headed or anything. It was just like I play a lot of instruments, and that was the one that as soon as I picked it up, like I could just play it. So I call it like my heart instrument.
You're also sex.
Other than that, yeah. But other than that, it's the bass for me. I've been playing that since I picked up my dad's old Court. Back when I was about 11 or 10.
Wow.
And then I
thought you were going to say back when I was like 18, but not 11. Wow.
No. Like 10 or 11. I should be way better than I am because of that. But I've had a lot of breaks because EDS makes my fingers quite arthritic, and also they dislocate. So I go through many periods where I literally can't pick up a bass. But I'm hoping that maybe I can stick with it for longer now, and that maybe I stay stable for long enough to not have to completely drop it at any point from now on in the next like 10 years or so. But we'll see. But I got my first my baby, which is called Big Blue, my Fender P bass. I got that in 2003 or 4, I think. So I was 13 or something. So they made me prove myself on my dad's bass, just borrowing his. And then I got my own. It's a beautiful bass, and it was well known to be a good year for Made in Mexico Fenders, which anyone who knows Fender, Made in America are the best. Made in Mexico are like second best. And the price, reflects that, but still quite a pricey little bass and a beautiful, big, heavy thing. I love it. It just like on my smaller frame, it just looks so big, and like I kind of love the way I feel behind that. I feel powerful and like badass low end lady, as
badass.
Bass girls like to call ourselves. But I also I played kit drums for a long time. And I play percussion, particularly congas. I played a little piano, and I do play acoustic guitar to a degree, just enough that I can be shown chords. I can play and do a little sing-song around the campfire. But I do have a Daisy Rock short scale guitar. I play short scale acoustics, but my real baby out of that is a Baby Taylor. So any musos will know Baby Taylors are the bomb. Thebomb.com.
That is a lot of stuff that you thrown at me. It's gonna take me a minute to absorb it. So
I play a good cowbell too. I play a good cowbell.
That's good, because if anybody has a fever, you'll be able to take care of that.
Hey,
Kat Young and Star Pasta. Hi, Star Pasta. Thank you for joining us.
Hey.
Are both all about Avenue Q, and Star Pasta in particular loves that song that you mentioned about going back to college.
Oh, it's so good. It's so beautiful. And as someone who does wish they could go back to college, I only did a year in uni. It's very apropos.
Nice. And then Kat says that she has to go practice a presentation, but might be back if we're still going on later. We're probably going to go on for another like 40 minutes, I'm going to say.
Yeah, totally.
So hope you can come back. And thank you for tuning in, Kat.
Bye. Yeah.
Wow. So
we've covered quite a bit so far.
I mean, have you thought of maybe, you have the BookTube experience where you've like done hauls and reviews of books. Have you thought of doing something analogous to that, but with music?
Mm-hmm. I have, definitely. And actually, funnily enough, lately, I'm not sure if it's because I have an alternative look, and on my Instagram posts, I sort of hashtag alt girl and that kind of thing, and muso and stuff like that. But I've been having a lot of PR emails from bands' publicists lately over the last 3 weeks or so, offering me the new CDs to review and like interviews with the bands and stuff. And I haven't been in a place where I can accept that right now. But just because I'm in a bit of limbo and everything, and dealing with some stressful behind the scenes stuff, so that's why the blog's been a little bit quiet. But it would definitely be something I'd be super interested in, like music journalism. is always something that, like, for actual end goal, like serious job, I would love to write for a music publication or something, and review shows and albums and excuse me, all that good stuff. Like, that would be great. But also, I mean, I was in a band until like 2 weeks ago. I had to let them know that, like, I couldn't keep up with that right now. I didn't want to let them down later down the line. So I kind of said, like, you know, probably best to find a new bassist now before things really take off. So that kind of sucks. That was just entirely because of my health. Like, it was a band practice day, and I woke up and I was just like, well, actually the night before, I was like, I can't even imagine going to band practice tomorrow. I got to walk with my bass. I got to carry, you know, equipment, and then jam, and then like, and hang. Like, a big part of being in a band is the socializing with the band and hanging out and bonding and everything. And I still love the guys; they're great. I love them, and we're still going to hang out and everything. But I couldn't commit to that right now. But I do want to get in a band as soon as I am able to, and properly gig and play and all that stuff. Like, that would be a dream for sure, being able to properly do shows and everything. I mean, I grew up as a little show kid.
If only your EDS would flip and cooperate with you, you could get this stuff done.
Oh, seriously, like, that's the thing with me. Like, I'm such a goal maker and planner too. Like, I'm such a planner. It's not even funny. And I've got like all these things I want to do, and then just EDS rears its ugly head, and it's like, you cannot do that. And it's annoying. It is annoying, but eventually.
It's like a white wizard standing in front of you saying, "You shall not bass."
Yeah. I love it. But
in the chat, Holly of the Wobble says, I was going to ask how your fingers cope with bass with EDS. Did you ever wear splints to help? Because I keep going back to the guitar, but the EDS plays havoc with my fingers.
Yeah. Ring splints she's talking about, which aren't what I'm wearing today. I'm just wearing a Loki ring and some other rings today. Yeah. But I have had silver ring splints, which are literally rings you wear, like knuckle rings and stuff that support your joints, just like any sort of leg brace or something like that. I personally didn't like them. I found them too restricting. I got them at the big old EDNF conference and paid a silly amount of money for them, and never ended up using them for more than, you know, a few hours at a time. And playing bass, they sort of hit the strings and restrict the movement too much, because I mean, like, you really need to stretch and be like, move. Like, I'm not a pick player when it comes to my like fingering hand, which I always hate saying that. But yeah, when it comes to fingering, I like fingers. Oh, so bad. But I don't like the pick. But it's more my left hand that struggles with the stretches and stuff. Sometimes I just cannot make a stretch. But I do find that I'm finding bass easier than guitar at the moment, because guitar I can just play basic open chords and stuff. Bar chords, I don't have the strength to hold down all those strings and stuff like that. But I'm doing a lot of exercises and stuff, keeping them limber and strong, and simple things like making sure my hands don't get too cold ever, you know, and all that good stuff. It's just about taking care of your hands and strengthening them up, and not, like, even if it's hurting, pushing that little bit extra to literally, it's like working out. You push that little bit extra and you make up the strength, and you get the calluses on your fingertips and all that stuff. And that's how I'm finding it. It does hurt a lot. My fingers dislocate. Sometimes my fingers in the middle of a song become weak and I can't hold down the notes anymore, which is another reason why I just didn't feel I could commit to being in a band yet, because I wasn't sure how I would deal with an actual live show at this point in time. But yeah, there's ways around it, I think. There are ways around it.
That is, I mean, those are some big obstacles you have to deal with just to play in a band, and that stinks. That stinks.
Yeah. It does stink.
What I mean, and I don't think that I necessarily would have figured. I don't think I would have guessed that was something that would be in your way. Even hearing about what the symptoms of EDS are. Are there other aspects of your life where your chronic illness gets in the way that people wouldn't expect it to?
Yeah, entirely. Even people like yourself, like you follow everything I post. You know a lot
Yeah.
about me. You're a huge supporter of me, and I'm always so grateful for it. But you know, even yourself, you just said that you wouldn't have thought of that. Silly things like the other day, you know, those buttons you press to cross the street to, you know, change for the crosswalk and everything. I dislocated my thumb pressing that the other day.
Oh my
Like, that's not a
gosh.
huge barrier in my way, but it just explains how easily little everyday things can actually be affected by EDS and can cause me a little bit of pain. And like, someone who was with me, unless I actually said, oh, like I said to Ollie at the time, I said, oh, my finger just dislocated, because like I point everything, like he's used to it now, he's fine with it. But like we can laugh about it, you know. I was like, oh, there goes my thumb. Yeah, must be kind of bad today. But you know, someone who's with me wouldn't even know if I didn't point it out. So it's very easy to perform your illness and hide it and all that stuff. But I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind of things that are affected by EDS that nobody would have known until just the other day I said was actually this whole boob issue, which I'm totally comfortable to talk about. I have a deformity of my breasts called tuberous breasts, and it's due to collagen growth and all that stuff. And people without EDS can have it, but a lot of people with EDS have it because it is they've figured out that it's collagen related. They're not 100% sure how it works, but basically my boobs screw deformed, and I have to wear a bra 24/7. Even though it looks like I've got very small boobs, which I do, but the way they sit is very uncomfortable and very aesthetically unpleasing and all that stuff, and has been a huge hindrance in my life. It's very uncomfortable, either A, having to wear a bra 24/7, or B, when I don't wear a bra, it's very uncomfortable. So either way, I'm screwed. Oh. And obviously it's had a huge impact on my self-image and self-confidence and everything. And I believe it was a large part of why I became anorexic, because I obviously like couldn't control that part of me at the time, but I could control the rest of my body in some way, how it looked. So that was part of it. That wasn't there was a lot more to the anorexia than that, obviously, but it was definitely part of it. But now I've been basically approved. They still could turn me down if they deem me unfit for surgery or whatever, but I've been approved for a boob job covered by the NHS. Because this is a condition a bit like if you have your boobs removed due to cancer or anything like that, like they'll give you a free boob job afterwards because it's deemed as reconstructive surgery. I'm getting a boob job, and it's going to make a huge difference in my life, because like it's just something that's affected me so hugely for my whole life. And
I mean, just being able to go for for an evening, a night without having to wear a bra is going to be a huge change in your life.
Oh my God. And like, you know, the fact that I can't wear strapless dresses or like a backless dress because I have to always wear a bra, and like, you know, that sounds silly. That's not worth having the surgery on its own. Like, it's the other things that make it worth it. But also it is like, I think it all
accumulates. I mean, yes, the pain is a part of it, but also just being able to socialize the way you think that you should be able to socialize as a woman, it's interfering with that part of your life.
Exactly. Like, not only in the way I dress for everyone, but everyone's wondering, yeah, I wear a bra literally all the time, even with my boyfriend. So, you know, that's been something that's been hard my entire life, like, and has actually put me off having relationships in the past and stuff like that. Because, you know, I've not felt like a comfortable, confident, fully formed woman almost. And not that I believe that boobs make a woman, anything like that. I love the look of small boobs. On a lot of people look wonderful with small boobs. It doesn't make you a woman at all. But for me personally, because they're deformed, not just because they're small, because they're deformed, it makes me feel like I haven't been made properly, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna get big old boobs. I'm very happy about that, because I mean, either way, it's the same surgery, so I may as well just go for it and get big old fake boobs. So I'm very excited about that. I'm
really glad that the NHS is gonna come through for you. I mean, you know, knock on wood, nothing goes wrong, but hopefully coming through for you, and that's so great.
It is
Even
definitely a big
in the
deal.
United States, I know that in the United States, not all insurance, at least prior to the Affordable Care Act, not all insurances would cover reconstructive surgery for breasts that had to be,
Post-cancer.
yes, like
Yeah.
metastatization of breast tissue. You would think that that would be an obvious thing. You think that, oh, of
Yeah.
course you're going to cover that, but the whole what is it? Prior, shoot, I forget the word for it. Pre-existing conditions. The whole pre-existing
Right.
conditions
Yes.
thing
Yeah, yeah.
was used
It's all,
so badly against women, and then the arguments would be made of, you don't need to have breasts
exactly.
again.
And like,
Yes,
I could go on the rest of my life with these boobs, and although if I ever have a baby, it could, if they're not fixed, I could literally be unable to breastfeed and stuff like that, and there is issues like that, and also there's some link to cancer. There is a link to cancer in a way of just the strain on the tissue and all this stuff makes it more likely or something. Like if you're already predisposed to cancer, which I have it in my family, it's more likely to go to that area or something. I don't know. There is a link. But it's just like, yeah, I could live without it. But it's a huge part of my life that has kept me down for a long time, and like it's still I don't like looking at myself in the mirror without a bra on, and like hate when I shower and I have to shower without a bra on, and like and then summer, of course, like bikinis is just hell, because I can make them look somewhat normal in a bra or a bikini, but it has to be, considering their small boobs, it has to be fully supportive. And I'm sorry, this is so TMI, but for me, it's just like, this is how open I am about this stuff. And like, I personally, I really am passionate about getting the word out about not just this particular issue, but about body image issues, and the fact that also if you choose to alter your body, it doesn't make you any less body positive. Like, I'm such a huge preacher of body positivity. And I don't think this makes me any amount a hypocrite or anything like that for wanting to change or alter something about my body. You know what I mean? Like, what are your opinions on that?
It's the thing that always gets me upset is that people try to separate out physiological conditions with mental conditions.
Yes.
They separate out social impact with internal impact. It's all tied in together. If you don't feel good about yourself, it doesn't matter how much you might rah-rah cheer on body positivity. Your quality of life is being affected by that, as much as depression would affect you, as much as an eating disorder would affect you. Just the fact that you're in your body and you have to react in a way that is negative.
Yeah.
You can't just be like counseled to all of a sudden like your body, that it's been
exactly
that it's been an obstacle to your acceptance of yourself your entire life. That's not just something that going to the shrink is going to fix.
No. And I mean, like, I remember when I was like, 10 or whatever, and my boobs started growing, and I knew something was wrong. I knew that I was not normal in the way they grew immediately. And like, I was in ballet at the time, and I had to wear little leotards with, like, no girls wore bras at that age or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it was younger than that. I'm always bad with figuring out ages of times in my life. But, and it's actually one of the reasons why I quit ballet. Like, I didn't quit all dance. I quit dance because of my health in the end, but I quit ballet early because it was the only dance that I had to wear a leotard in, and I didn't feel comfortable in the leotard, so I quit. And ballet was my favorite form of dance. So, if that doesn't show to you, like, how much of an impact it can have on you, then I don't know what does. But I mean, obviously the NHS, my case was put forward to like boards of people, like a panel of like people deciding if it was a worthy case and all that stuff, and it's been accepted. So I've got my consultation coming up sometime soon, and if they say it's okay, then I don't know, I'm sure there'll be some haters out there who will say, oh, she's such a hypocrite, or, oh, how can she, take that money from the NHS for a stupid boob job? Or there's also going to be oh, she's so sick with other illnesses, why does she care about something as silly as that? That's going to be the big one.
Well, but I mean, a lot of your illnesses aren't things where you can just go in for a surgery and all of a sudden it's fixed. This is like a thing that you can actually do.
Exactly, a bit like my anemia, I can go in and have an IV iron infusion, and finding that out was so huge for me, finding out that like, oh, okay, I can go in every other month, get an infusion and feel better. Like, there's an actual fix for this. That was great. So like, having something that can be fixed if I've got something that can be fixed, I'm gonna bloody go for it. Like, there's no reason why I shouldn't, in my mind. You know,
there's no reason why you shouldn't, and there's a lot of positive benefits to it. If nothing else, I mean, the more you can do, the little bits you can do to fix your quality of life are going to be things that feed into your being able to get a job, hold it for longer, be able to take care of yourself without additional assistance. These are things that are actually going to improve your entire community, because you can contribute back to it more often now that you get now that you are getting these surgeries, these procedures.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I struggle with, is feeling like a drain or a strain on my community and my economy and government and all that stuff. And it's something I do battle with. But, you know, in the end, I never take advantage of anything. I always push myself. So I shouldn't feel that way. But I don't think I'd feel that way naturally if it wasn't for the, you know, outward opinion of people who are on benefits in the UK and people who utilize the NHS and, you know, and will accept free surgeries and stuff. There's some real preconceived notions about those things, I think, over here. So it's a bit of an issue.
There are parallels in the United States. You know, the knee-jerk response, particularly from conservatives, toward people who are quote unquote on welfare. People who do get assistance,
benefits. I
mean, our Disabilities Act in the United States does not provide for as much support for people who have disabilities as the NHS's policies do. So the NHS does give you more than we do.
Actually, we often follow the ADA.
Oh, you do?
Quite a lot. Yeah. And there's some changes being made to the Disabilities Act over here. It may be entirely scrapped, just like the Human Rights Act is being entirely scrapped by the Tories and all this crap. So there's some issues going on with that for sure. Like, can you imagine the Human Rights Act? Like, it's like the UN Human Rights Act or whatever in the UK is possibly being entirely scrapped. How does that, like, how can you, just the wording, we're scrapping the Human Rights Act.
Well, I mean, in the United, I'll compete with you some more. In the United States,
no, that's fine. Go for it. Make me feel better about where I live.
Our Equal Rights Amendment is trying to be scrapped by our conservative politicians, as if racism is gone.
Yeah.
2015 is a very good example of how racism is definitely not gone.
Yeah, seriously. Oh God.
And yet, still, in order to I don't know, appease the theoretical conservative Republican voter, that is in danger in the United States.
Yeah, yet there's good old Canada with Trudeau, and just brought in, you know,
I am so jealous of Trudeau's administration right now. I wish that our departments and secretaries and cabinets were staffed as intelligently as Canada's right now.
Yeah, and so many people said, you know, oh, you've only done the half and 50-50 split of men and women, just like, you know, that means that you haven't chosen the right people for the job. You've made sure you choose enough women and enough men. It's like, no, like, it's just, they are still the right people for the job. It just so happens to be exactly 50-50. I don't think he did that on purpose. It just so happens. And, like, he's also just more open to having women on the, you know, as part of it.
The people who accuse the Canadian government of tokenism in getting a 50-50 split on those politicians presume that women can't do those jobs.
Exactly.
If anything,
so women have said it too, and it's just like, it's the best example of internalized misogyny like I've seen in a long time. It's just,
if anything, it's possible that 50% of men, those might be the tokens.
Exactly. Oh,
in the United States government, there are definitely lots of politicians who are men and suck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not even get into that. I mean, I could rant for hours. Me and all very often joke around about Trump. Trump is one of his favorite people in the world. Like, in a joking way, just to laugh at, and just like, he always said, I want to meet him. And he jokingly says he wants him to win just to see how the world burns afterwards. Like, I know that's hard for an American to hear the joke about, but like, that's how we see it. Like, Brits just see Trump entirely as a joke. Like, but for you, it's a real fear, you know? Like,
I mean, it is, and it's a danger, but like, I kind of, I mean, it would not be beneficial to our government or our people if Trump were the president. It would not be beneficial. And and even most of the Republicans I know agree that he is a bad candidate. His own party does
Really?
not
Do
like
they
him.
actually?
Yeah.
They do
But-
agree. Yeah.
But if by his like, self-marketing, by his campaigning strategy, by the fact that people think that he is honest for being a dickhead on the air, if he manages to get to be our president, then I think that he will be very quickly impeached for messing things up very, very badly. And it will be a lesson.
Yeah.
I think if he actually manages to win the presidency, that might finally cause campaign finance reform in an apocalyptic sort of way. Because Congress people will have to say, you know what? Maybe this isn't a good situation.
Yeah, if this guy got in and like immediately just got kicked back out, like maybe we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I never really thought of it. I to be honest, it's so lightly reported over here. Like we just hear like the funny stuff, and you know.
Sure, I mean that's understandable. It's not your government.
No. But like, I just don't know with him. I do wonder if he's like a Sacha Baron Cohen, like Borat sort of character sometimes. I really do. Is he just a really amazing character actor?
I mean that is a nice thing for your peace of mind, but I cannot help but feel that he is utterly sincere in everything he says and does, and that is itself terrifying.
I have to try to consider that just to believe that there's even a slight possibility that someone like him, as horrible as him, can possibly exist in this world. Like,
I mean, there are also Putins and David Camerons in the world.
Exactly. So, well, let's not get into David Cameron.
In the chat,
those of the world who are going to save everything, so it's okay.
Let's hope so. In the chat, Matt Palka says that those are definitely long-term solutions for improving your quality of life. Matt is on the side of getting these surgeries done. And,
awesome. Thank you.
Kali of the Wobbles says there are so many things in life that can't be done. Go for the things you can. Yep. Yeah, we're on the same page there.
That's what the NHS was originally made for. Exactly. Yeah, the NHS is a wonderful institution for sure. I will admit the OHIP, the Canadian Medical Institution or whatever, is better. But
I was wondering where you're going to come down on that Canadian. Although you side with Canada a lot.
I'm entirely. I call myself Canadian first and foremost, even though by birth I am British. But I became a Canadian citizen at age like 6 or whatever. My parents had to take the test and everything, and then we had to take the oath and walk up and shake a Mounties hand and all that stuff.
Did you really?
Such a great memory. It was a whole sort of ceremony in a local elementary school, and all the kids had to watch, and they all made us little pins of like the Canadian flag with little safety pins and beads that made like the Canadian flag up. Aww. And there's a Mountie there and the mayor and all that stuff, and they all shook our hands and the Mountie saluted us, and like the loveliest thing.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
And the kids sung us "So Canada," and it was great.
Oh, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I don't necessarily expect you to have an answer, but I'm just kind of curious if you have an opinion on this, and that is, in the United States, and I think to a certain degree in the UK as well, there is an element of systematized racism in the police forces.
Yeah.
Is that the case with the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police as well, or are they better than that?
Definitely better. I don't have enough knowledge, in all honesty, to say much. All I know is that I think one of my parents' friends was an ex-Mountie or something, and yeah, he was an RCMP guy, and he was a Native American Canadian
First Nations
guy. Yeah, First Nations. Yeah, and he I think he was actually a chief and everything, and he was in the RCMP for years and years. So I know that that
says good things.
That says really good things just right there, right? That they will, hire our Native people. And I mean, I'm just trying to think, when I would see Mounties, which to be honest, I lived in Vancouver for the 2010 Olympics, Winter Olympics, and obviously Mounties were everywhere. The RCMP were doing a lot of the policing and everything. No, like not necessarily in their reds. Like you guys probably think that it's always just the. Is that the TARDIS I hear?
It is.
My ringtone used to be that too, and then I just like it just got me too excited every time. But yeah, like they're not always in the red uniforms, by the way. They like, you know, they do have regular uniforms and everything sometimes. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they definitely do. But like you'd see a lot of just like mixture of women, men, black, white, Indian, First Nations, everything. Yeah, it seems pretty fair. And then the actual, you know, issues with police force brutality and stuff like that is obviously so much less in Canada, just because the militarization of the police isn't happening so strongly there. When they're not getting so much of the, you know, the downflow of the old equipment from the war and everything. And I mean, I'm quite an interesting case with all this sort of this topic, because my dad is my dad and my grandpa ex-military. My dad was in the RAF, and very proudly so. And I would be in the RAF if I was fighting fit. 100%. That is something I would have done. I would have done my 4 to 6 years at least, and just purely because I feel like it's my duty as a RAF brat, you know?
So for people who aren't familiar, you're talking about the Royal Air Force, yes? Yes,
the British Royal Air Force, because obviously my dad is English, my mum is English/Welsh. And yeah, I am very pro-military in a strong way. I'm pro the support of military. I'm pro veterans' rights and support and everything. And I'm pro-militarization of countries in a certain way, you know what I mean? But then I'm also anti-war, you know what I mean? But when the military does have to go out there, and sometimes I do agree that sometimes, you know, strikes need to be made and things need to be done and action needs to be taken. And that's a very dodgy thing to say as someone who's such a liberal, you know, hippy-dippy kind of person. But yeah, I support it. I get a lot of information from my dad, because, you know, obviously he's got insider info and he can read the news and tell me like, yeah, no, that airstrike was, you know, that was legitimate. That was justifiable. Yeah, that was justifiable means and you know, an action and all that stuff. But yeah, I kind of, it's weird, which is why whenever I take those like tests that tell you where you sit, left, right, or whatever, it's always confused by me, because I'm like, everything is like totally liberal, and then like really far, you know, liberal, and then I answer the military questions about, yeah, we should be supporting the military and putting more money into the military, not necessarily in having weapons and stuff like that, but in supporting the troops and, you know, and looking after our people who bravely fight for us.
I don't want to get too far away from this topic, but I do want to take a moment, because it's been a second since I looked at the chat, and I want to say that
sure.
Mark Hilton joined us. Hi, Mark Hilton.
Hey.
And was upset that the Human Rights Act is being scrapped. You should be upset. That's an upsetting thing.
I'm not. Now, don't quote me on that. It's something about the Human Rights Act. I'm pretty sure it's straight up scrapping it, but don't quote me. I'm not the best on politics and stuff like this, to be honest.
You're a journalist. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just a blogger. Who cares about bloggers in, you know, information?
But it sounds upsetting. We should investigate that. And then we are also joined by Not My Face 84. Welcome to the show, Not My Face 84, who says, I kind of think Trump is a joke, and my boyfriend said nope, so I'm kind of terrified. I mean, again, I don't think as a U.S. citizens, I don't know if you're in the United States, Not My Face 84, but as a U.S. citizen, I can't afford to consider Trump a joke. I have to consider that Trump is a viable candidate, and it is terrifying. And that is why I want things like campaign finance reform. I want things like a politician who can't just buy his way into the presidency. That should not be a part of our structure.
Yeah, exactly. But is what Not My Face saying is she or he saying that his boyfriend likes Trump. Is that what they're trying to say?
Oh, I mean, my interpretation was that Not My Face's boyfriend
And that's
thinks
why
that Trump is
they're
not
scared.
a joke. Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think the boyfriends just think that Trump is a serious possibility, and that's why they're terrified.
Right. Oh, I see. I see. I was going to say, if you're just like worried because your boyfriend likes Trump or something, then
I would be worried about that as well.
I would be pretty worried. Like I said, my boyfriend jokingly loves him, but just like my boyfriend constantly says to me, "Oh, wait, you're Canadian? I thought you were American." Like constantly bugs me about being American and saying, "Well, Canada's basically just an annex of America anyway." Constantly, but yeah, as long as it's a joke, I think you're good.
Yes. And then let's see here. Kali the Waffles would side with Canada.
Yeah. I mean, like, Brits are either ridiculously, sillily proud of being British, or they're kind of just apathetic. To be honest, the Welsh are much more proud of being Welsh than of being British, or than English are of being English, I think. Although when it's English versus Welsh, then all hell breaks loose, especially in rugby. But
I believe it.
I do enjoy being Welsh to a degree. There's some really interesting things about Wales. There's some really unique cultural things, and a lot of Welshness just ticks me off because it's so opposite from Canadian way of being. But a lot of it's very cute and eccentric and fun. But I do like the question about what do you think about Russell Brand.
Yeah, what do you think?
I do like that. I bloody love him. I absolutely love the guy. I think he's amazing. I have seen him. I saw his Messiah Complex tour in Cardiff live, and he was phenomenal. I want to meet the guy and give him a big old hug and thank him for inspiring me in a lot of ways. Yeah. I mean, yes, a lot of what he says is sensationalized and he's just after a reaction, but isn't that what all celebrities are doing? You know, like.
Yeah, and most celebrities don't pay attention, or at least they don't show any evidence they pay attention to what's actually going on in news, in government, in foreign policy, in local affairs. They don't talk about that, and he pursues that. And
yeah,
I'm a fan of Russell Brand. I don't think that he's like, for example, if he ever tried to run for an office anywhere, I would not advise voting for him. But
no, just a bit like Trump. He's not, and that's not what he's lived his life to learn how to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
he's taught a lot of people a lot of things.
He definitely
taught a lot of people a lot of things. I mean, I got into the last election and voted for the first time ever because of him, basically. I did make my decision. I did agree with him and I voted for Ed Miliband. For the why can't I think of the name of the party? Labor. For the Labor Party. I always get confused between like the Canadian parties, all that stuff. Like I get so confused sometimes.
I mean, I wish I knew the parties of other countries as well as I know the parties of the United States.
Yeah, but most countries, like a lot of Canadians, know the American government political system way better than their own. So don't worry about not knowing Canada's or whatever.
Well, that's because we pull our politics into all of our popular media, like our TV shows, our news, our movies have so much of our politics in it. It's hard to avoid learning about it.
So true. Whereas Canada is just like, just don't talk about it, eh?
Canada's government just does stuff.
Just get shit done.
Which I very much appreciate. The thing about Russell Brand is that I
voted Labor. Sorry, I voted Labor because of Russell Brand. I voted because of Russell Brand, and I watched a lot of videos on YouTube. Ed Miliband actually did interviews with YouTubers, like Sprinkle of Glitter and all those people and stuff. I think it was Sprinkle of Glitter he did one with, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, I think. And I love her, by the way. She's awesome. But yeah, it was just something that I was never truly I tried to call myself an activist, but then I wasn't actually a voter or truly interested in politics. And then he helped really get me inspired by it all. And that's something I'll always be thankful to him for. And right now, I guess I align with Labour, especially with Corbyn. You know, he's amazing. And I think that if Labour got in to the government here, a lot of things would change. And of course, politics are always like the best of a bad bunch. Nobody's ever perfect, but I'm most aligned with Labour. And before that, I had no idea what I aligned with over here. I just wasn't going to vote. And I did like a last minute write-in, like, you know, to get my permission to vote and all that stuff. And yeah, I voted. So that's all due to Russell Brand. So
people in the chat are agreeing with you. We are joined by Zainab. Hi, Zainab. Thank you for tuning in. Who says that Corbyn is awesome from what she knows. And Kat returned from presenting and says that she aligns with Labour now more because of Corbyn. So yeah, definitely. People are on your side there.
He's supremely, like, he's hardcore with it. You know what I mean? He's taken it back to old school Labour. I mean, he was a anti-nuclear protester and all that stuff, and like he just looks like an old like farmer dude, and I just love him. He rides his bike everywhere, and like I think he divorced his wife, or they ended up like whatever. They ended up splitting up because she refused to send her kids to a like right, this is where I'm going to get it wrong. It's called public school over here is like posh school, you know, like paid for, whatever.
Yeah. It's
but
the reverse
to me, public school means like, yeah, exactly. But to me, like public school in Canada is just like, you know, the school you go to for free and everything. Private school is, you know, what you pay for. But so let's just say she wanted to send him to a private posh, like, you know,
to a posh
or whatever it is. Yeah, with, you know, the little hats and they board and all that stuff, and she wouldn't stand down. So that's what they ended up splitting up over, because he was so pro his kid like getting a proper normal education and all this stuff. And like, I mean, that's a little bit extreme, yes, but it's just that story about him shows me that he's a very, like, that shows that he's very, like, what he believes in, he truly believes in.
He has integrity.
I mean, yeah, exactly, integrity. And he's gonna, you know, if he says he's going to do something, I feel like he is actually going to do it. So we'll see what happens in the next, you know, whenever the next election happens. I can't remember how long it is over here. It's a longer like term over here, I think, isn't it? It's quite long.
I would have no idea.
It's something crazy. I mean, like, as I say again, I'm not a political person at all. I pay very little attention to the actual real technicalities of it, but I have opinions now, at least, which is good. Which before I was just like, I don't know what's happening. All I know is that I'm like liberal or whatever.
Sure. We're also joined by Tamara Woods. Hi, Tamara. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Who says, I loved watching Russell Brand's channel. I felt he came at those hot button issues at a place of trying to find a truth. I mean, it was called the truths. He was talking about the truths. Exactly.
Yeah, I've literally got a true sticker on my laptop, and I printed out a bunch and like stuck them around town on like lampposts and stuff. Yeah, I loved the truths. The truths was awesome. Although I'm proud of him for like taking his like sabbatical from social media and everything. I think that's probably really good for him, because, you know, he's been through a lot of stuff with alcoholism and stuff, and that's something he's actually helped me with. Like, I was never an alcoholic in any way, shape, or form, but I used to occasionally drink unhealthily, and just learning about his opinions on drinking and stuff and addiction and stuff like that helped me to find a real healthy balance of, you know, just drinking once or twice a week to treat myself, you know. So I think that's
I agree with
you.
It's
a good place to be at.
What I was going to say about, with regards to my opinion about Russell Brand, is that I mean, again, I wouldn't vote him into office, but I like the fact that he crusades for social issues that are oftentimes stigmatized in the UK and everywhere in the world. So, you know, he has openly talked about his battles with his addiction, and he has talked about how people who are addicted to things are not bad people; they are suffering from an illness. And
yes, exactly.
He will blatantly and bluntly challenge politicians who are basically crusading against people who just need help, And he'll say to them, why don't you think these are human beings? Why don't you treat them like a human being who needs help? And that is my favorite part about Russell Brand, is that he does that. He's realized that rather than making excuses for his history and trying to deny that it happened, he embraces who he was. He says that he is messed up. He says that he needs help. And so the other people who are in that same situation also need help. That is what everybody should be thinking.
Yeah, Totally. And he's truly an empathetic person. Like, you know, like you can just tell he truly cares. And like, I mean, he puts his money where his mouth is. Like he's opened a kind of a cooperative cafe in a rough part of London where it hires entirely mentally ill or homeless people and stuff like that. And they run a pure democracy of like, different person is a manager every day, and they've created this perfect little, like, I don't know, little utopia in this coffee shop, and he pays them all and funds it, and you know, but he also has made them, like, he's not just shelling out the money at them, like he's making them figure it out, and like it's just great. It's awesome. Like that is perfect to me.
I did not know about that. That is very cool.
Yeah, it's called the True Cafe, the True Cafe, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. It's. I really want to go there and visit. And he's often there himself, and like, you know, and he's brought light to the fact that there's housing crisis here and everything. You know, so many homeless people, and then there's so many empty flats that are unlivable. He went in them on one of his Trues episodes, and just like where people were squatting, and it perfectly livable, perfectly. I've got OCD, and I would happily live in them. There was no mold, there was, you know, nothing. A little bit old looking, but like there is enough empty housing that is just going to be trampled down, and a big expensive flat, you know, skyscraper is going to be put in its place for you know, the rich Londoners. There's plenty of housing existing. It doesn't even need to be built. It's existing for all the homeless people in London. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. The United States has a very similar problem.
Like, yeah. Well, yeah. It's very similar in a lot of places in America, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the DC area, the New York City. I don't think it's so much LA. Maybe Chicago for sure. There are places where there are buildings with livable spaces and lots of homeless people who could just live in those spaces. And yet, because of the very capitalistic approach to real estate in the United States, the problem and the solution are not put together. And it's very frustrating because so many studies have shown that literally all you need to do to turn around the life of a homeless person and get them to being a productive member of society is literally give them a home. That's all you need to do. And then all of a sudden, the burden of trying to survive disappear. Just
purely surviving the cold and the elements. Exactly. They're able to. Like,
they can recontribute to the society. They can get off of. They can get help for their addiction problems if they have addiction problems. Yeah. All these things that they just can't do because they don't have a place to live safely. I'll tell you,
when I was in Baltimore, actually, we went to a really awesome gluten-free bakery place. And we drove there. It was I was there for like, I think it was it the conference? Yeah, it was the DNF conference. I've been to Baltimore before for
Sweet 27 Cafe.
Which one?
The Sweet 27 Cafe.
It might have been, actually. That sounds familiar. It was a cute little cafe with a lot of gluten-free baked goods and stuff, and quite expensive. So you know, like, you know, it was quite pricey. And I bought myself one nice gluten-free cupcake. And
they've got a huge glass display of all their cupcakes in the front, and they're labeled gluten-free, dairy-free, or regular.
Yeah. I think it might be, even if it's not the exact same place, then it was a place like that. But I had noticed when we were driving through the city and everything, how many homeless people there were, you know, at the stoplights and stuff like that, and how many of them were in wheelchairs with lost limbs and stuff, and clearly vets, and it just made me so sad. And then we were driving through the city back from the bakery. I had my little cupcake in my hands, and this is a story that my mum remembers and brings up every now and then as one of her favorite things, of memories of me, like, ever. And I had just been so like bothered by this fact that I had just spent like $5 on a cupcake or whatever. And there was all these homeless people, and we came up to a traffic light, and I think me and my mum were arguing or something at the time, which isn't surprising. But I was like, I saw this homeless guy in the wheelchair with, you know, just a sign saying "veteran, please help," whatever. So I rolled down my window. My mom's like, "Don't do that! Don't do that! It's it's dangerous, whatever." Like, and she's pro. Like, she'll give money to homeless people on the street, but like we're arguing, and she's like, "Don't do that." And because she just spent $5 on this cupcake for me, and I gave it to him, and just the look of gratitude on his face, and like I'm not, don't worry, I'm not doing that whole thing where a hero complex and all that stuff, but just that is something that is the reason why I'm telling the story, is because that is a memory that is stuck in my head regarding homeless people and all that stuff. It's a memory that's stuck in my head, that the look of gratitude on his face, he just went, "Thank you, like, bless you, seriously, thank you, like, what a special thing I could do for that person, like, and that's why I've always now, even when like people may be, maybe they're not actually homeless. That happens in Cardiff a lot. People aren't actually homeless. They're just like benefit scroungers. Like, there are a lot of people who are actually benefit scroungers, but they're benefit scroungers, and they're sitting on the street making up as much change as they can to go to the cheapest pub on the corner and get a few pints, But like, I can't be assured that that's not what they are, but I'll always try and give a few coins because of that experience with that person and just the gratitude they showed, and but it just makes me so sad that so many of the homeless people in America, especially our vets, it's so horrible.
It's ridiculous. Like, one of the reasons why I like Bernie Sanders' approach towards the military, his stance toward the military, is that he says if we're going to spend money on the military to get them to face combat situations, we should also be spending money so that we can help them recover from those situations and not experience crippling PTSD, not experience homelessness,
right,
not experience these things that we made them do. We caused them to suffer these things by sending them into these foreign locations in combat situations.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're not that way because of anything they've done themselves. Like, they don't have lost limbs because
us.
Yeah, exactly. It's so sickening. And obviously with my history with military, it's like, it's just even more, it just touches me because, my dad has had some PTSD issues, and like, Gulf War syndrome is something as well. My dad served in the first Gulf War, and he currently is undergoing testing and everything he's got some kind of chronic illness going on, and
they were exposed to so many chemicals over there.
Well, listen to this. My dad was getting so many injections, right? So many injections they had to get. They were getting their anthrax injections. The nurse, there's two people in front of him waiting for the injection. The nurse goes to get the next batch. She comes back and injects the guy. He goes into instant anaphylaxis because the batch she brought out was a brand new batch where they had changed the dosing. It was a new type of the anthrax medication where they needed 1/10 of the amount for the same dose or something. So she like gave him like 10 times 10 times the amount, and he went into instant anaphylaxis. My dad doesn't know what happened to him or whatever. It wasn't someone he knew. But that was literally two people in front of my dad on that. Hi, Drew. In that lineup. And that also shows like how crazy those drugs are that they were giving them. And there's so many vets over here and all over the place that are dealing with chronic illness now, and they can't explain exactly, they can't put a pinpoint on exactly what it is that has caused it, or how to cure it, or how to treat it. It's a bit like EDS in the way of there's no cure, they're just chronically in pain and ill and stuff like that. And that was for serving our country and keeping us safe, and
I mean, I'm definitely not as hawkish. I'm not as pro-military as you are.
Of course,
but,
yeah.
But I am absolutely in favor of not punishing the people who've tried to protect my country. It is ridiculous they will spend money on new forms of weaponry before we've helped the people that tried to protect us. Oh, it is madness. And
I mean, for example, my dad, the only reason he went into the military was because he had to leave home at a very young age and he had nowhere else to go. And, he joined the military, and it turns out he was made for it. He loves to serve. I mean, before he started getting ill with whatever's going on right now, he was serving again in this town as a Coast Guard, as a volunteer Coast Guard, which a Coast Guard over here means something very different from your Coast Guards, I believe. Coast Guard over here is just someone who like knows how to use the ropes to go over the cliff to save people that have fallen over the cliffs into the beach.
Oh, interesting. A literal guard of the coast.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like they work alongside the RNLI, which is the Royal National Lifeboat, whatever. So the lifeboats go out to sea and save people that are farther out to sea, whereas the Coast Guard literally guards the coast. And like when there's storms, he would have to go down and literally patrol the seafront to make sure that people weren't going. Because people are idiots over here. You've probably seen the photos actually of literally my town. Have you seen photos of a place in Britain where when there's crazy storms, the waves hit the lighthouse and the wall and like make these amazing photos of the huge waves?
Yes.
Have you seen that at all?
Yeah.
That's my town. That's literally my town. Porthcawl, and and my dad would have to go down and like patrol that area to make sure people weren't going and standing down there to get the photos. So it's quite an interesting. It's all volunteer. They do get paid for like call outs and stuff, but you know he was called out at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. anytime, and but you know that shows how he just liked to serve. He just always felt this need to serve the country, you know. But it's interesting that he started out in that sort of line of work just simply because he had nowhere else to go.
Jeez, I mean that's not unusual for people who what is it? I can't remember the word for it. But who sign up to join the military? That's not unusual at all. They don't want to follow in their father's footsteps. They don't want to go to college. They don't want to stay home on the farm. They want to do something different from their lives, but they have no place to go. Yeah. They can't afford it, or there's literally just nothing available to them. Yeah. So they enter the military. That is, I mean, that's historically, that's just back to like ancient Greece. That's historically part of the military.
Yeah, exactly. Very few of the people, although they become very proud of serving and they become a serviceman or woman, it's so often just not because they've got this urge to do it. Like me,
enlist.
I just have the urge to do it. To enlist, yeah, exactly. Sign up. You can just say sign up. They just sign up. But they like, you know, for me, I'm one of the rarities of someone who wanted to go in to do my granddad and my dad proud. You know, like I'm one of the few. Most people just have a dodgy situation they need to get out of or can't afford housing, so they go into the military. It does make a man or a woman. It does kind of.
I mean, it does something to you. It changes who you are. You can't leave military service as the same person who enlisted into military service. Definitely. It will definitely change you.
It is the making of many people, though. It was the making of my dad. It's why he's such an awesome, strong guy now, I believe. Not that he wouldn't have been otherwise, but it's a huge part of what made him who he is today. And like I have a friend who currently signed up, and he's in the paras, in the Welsh paras, so he's like, you know, doing the parachuting and everything, and wow. Like, and we're so proud of him because all of his life we were saying, right, like my dad especially obviously treated him a bit like a son, was like, right, you need to go into the military, dude, like you don't have all these options in front of you, so just do the military. It will make you like such a strong, well-rounded person, and as long as you don't experience something horrible that, you know, that turns you the other way and makes you, you know, just riddled with PTSD or whatever, it can really make you a great person, I believe. So
I mean, it's a bit of a gamble, but considering how much money most governments put into military, it is oftentimes one of the most beneficial ways to get benefits. Essentially, it's another way of getting benefits is actually joining the military.
Yeah, you get a place to live, you get food and board. You know, like it's entirely. Yeah. It's definitely that. The only other way of doing that over here is to be like 16 and have like 5 children. If I spat out a child right now, I would have so many benefits probably. Like it's well known. If you have children, you'll be given like a house. If you have children young, you know, given a house, a lot of money. It's a bit, and people are actually doing that. They're actually getting preggers just to get money, and that's a sad state we live in.
I mean, it is a sad state, and it's a sad state because of, I think it's I think it's based on poor education of people about what becoming pregnant and having a family entails, how much that changes your life, how much of a burden that is, how difficult that is. It's not just something that you like, you know, that soap opera people do. You know, soap opera people just pop out kids and it's not a big deal. They just live with it. It's life changing to have a child.
And sure, maybe you're going to get a lot of benefits because of it, and you're going to get enough money to come to. What's that?
Benefits are a form of changing your life.
Exactly, but like, sure you're going to get all that, and you're going to have enough to live on without having to work. But being a parent is a full-time job too.
I was just going to say, like, being a parent is the work. That is the work that you're being compensated for. Is parenting.
Exactly. So it's kind of a sad state that people actually think that. You know, it's like, ugh.
We're also joining.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I just had a look too. You go ahead.
I was going to say we're joined by Bookfinity and Beyond, who I believe is probably one of your viewers. And and they say a lot of people in my town take advantage of the whole pregnant at 16 thing, and it is so exhausting. I mean, again, I don't think that they would do it if people were educated to realize that raising a family is a job. It is not a job that you can walk away from. It is a 24/7, very difficult job for a huge chunk of your life.
That you can, you can't walk away from. This is what I was thinking the other day. Like, if I was to ever have a child, which is a big issue, obviously, with EDS and stuff like that. But if I was to ever have a child, it's the one job that if I find out it's too difficult for me, you know, and my health, I can't quit it, you know? Like, it's a serious job. It's a commitment. And, although I do think we do run the risk of judging young people for having children young as, you know, just the 16 and pregnant trying to, you know, do everything I've just said. We do run the risk of judging people who do genuinely find their soulmates at a young age and want to have a child at a young age. I mean, my mum was 20 having me. My dad was a bit older, but my mum was 20. And you know, I was like 4 by the time I was 4. When I was at my age, like my mum was my age and I was 4 already. That is crazy to me.
That is remarkable. I mean, it's a situation where you have to consider the motivations and the choices.
And, you know, I was planned for and, you know, tried for, and my parents got married while my mum was pregnant and they're still together today. So, you know, like.
And don't get me wrong.
You can't always judge the young children thing, you know, the young and having children.
Not at all. And you know, one of the if somebody chooses to get pregnant because they want to go on benefits, they are miseducated. They are misguided.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be doing that. But a lot of times people will be teenagers and they are not educated about sex, and so they will accidentally get pregnant. And then
religion comes into it, and they're not able to get any kind of, you know.
Yeah, I'm pro-abortion. Abortion should be an option to children who've messed up. It is ridiculous that the entire
birth control, though.
Pardon me?
It's not a form of birth control, though, which I've seen. Some people just treat it as like, you know, oh, if I'm pregnant, I'll just have an abortion. Like that's again, where it gets like a bad name, you know.
Poor education.
Exactly. Yeah. And lack of ability to get birth control.
Yes. So if teenagers were taught about what sex entails, the consequences of what sex entails, if children were taught about contraception, if children were taught that abortion is not an easy thing, if children were taught all these things, then they wouldn't have to. Then the situation where they are forced to be 16 and pregnant, where they are forced to carry that to term and then be young and raise a child. The forced situations could be reduced if they choose to. I mean, I'm not going to say somebody that can't choose to do whatever they want with their bodies, but if they are forced to, that's when I think that they should not be stigmatized against. They should not be railed against for being significantly pregnant. They should be helped.
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. They need aid in that situation. They do need it. They need to be cared for and looked after and given every ability to raise that child as a, you know, fully functioning member of society that isn't going to make the mistake a second time, you know? That's the issue there.
I agree. So something I didn't want to get away from, we got away from it, but something I come back to is that when you were part of BookTube, when you were like self-labeling as a booktuber, there's a community around BookTube. There's a very passionate and oftentimes very caring, sometimes dramatic, but nonetheless a passionate and loyal community in BookTube. Even though you have moved away from that being the concentration of your presence on the internet, I think that you probably still remember that. Obviously, some people still remember you as being a booktuber. They were introduced to you that way.
Definitely, yeah.
Do you find that in the people who are on the internet who watch your videos who have chronic illnesses and will chime in the comments of your videos saying, "Hey, I also have a chronic illness. It means so much to me that you're talking about this, Bunny." Do you find that there's also a community there?
Entirely. Oh, so much so. I mean, it's chronic illnesses are renowned for having communities in the way of, like, you know, there's the EDSers. We call ourselves zebras, which because of the medical zebra saying, which is, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras, which is what doctors are taught. It means if you see a symptom, think the most obvious, normal, average diagnosis possible before you start to consider rare illnesses, because EDS is considered a rare illness. And like it's mentioned once in a whole university career of a doctor, and then like never mentioned again, and it's not actually gone into at all. Like I educate doctors on EDS all the time. I'm normally their first EDSer they've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. But so we call ourselves zebras. Some people call ourselves bendies because we are hyperflexible, hypermobile. Sorry, I keep fiddling with my new septum piercing, if you're wondering why I keep touching my nose, anyone. I'm not picking my nose, I'm just fiddling with that. But yeah, there's definitely a community around EDSers in particular. I participated in it for a while, but I found, and I may get some hate for this, but I found the overall average EDSer within the online and also in person, like support groups and stuff, to be whiners and whingers and feeling very sorry for themselves and defining themselves by their illness, which is something I'm so against, which is why I don't call myself a zebra. I don't call myself a bendy. I do call myself an EDSer because that is just obvious
literally
to me.
accurate,
Like
yeah.
That's just the way of saying I have EDS. But like a lot of EDSers, like they wear zebra print as much as they can, and they have like zebra print wallpaper and stuff because they just
you are in stripes today.
I know I wear stripes a lot though, but let's pretend that they're not black and white. But yeah, it's like I actually avoid zebra print now, honestly. But it's very much something that they define themselves by. And I'm so against that. But online, in just the chronic illness, or for example, I use the hashtag a lot, chronically badass. I like to call myself that. And there's even like, there's a hashtag a lot of EDSers and other chronically ill people use, hashtag hospital glam. So if you're in a hospital, rather than going in your PJs or whatever, you get a little dressed up and you make sure you take a selfie on the bed, like posing like nice and pretty and everything. And it's like, just about reclaiming that illness and going like, you know, just because I'm chronically ill doesn't mean that I need to be, you know, not glam or defining myself by the illness. It's reclaiming it for sure. And I have had a lot of support from a lot of fellow chronically ill warriors. And I believe my most popular video is my old EDS video that I did. There was kind of like an EDS 101 sort of thing, which I really should do a new one of, because things have changed and my knowledge has changed and everything. But I believe actually, where is my iPad? I'm really interested in as to how many views that has these days. Because that video was like, went up like at the very beginning of me YouTubing, and it's still, I get comments at least once a week. I get a comment on that video. Of someone
as you point out, it's considered a rare disease, and so there's not a lot of information about it on the internet, certainly not on YouTube. I'm not surprised that you're getting a lot of views. People are looking for that information.
Yeah. Although a lot of EDSers do try to, I think that some try to gain popularity through it, through the sort of nicheness of it, and
I mean, if you can get popularity because of it, more power to you. But it's a horrible thing to suffer through just for some views.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. But
I wouldn't want 1,000 more subscribers and have to suffer through EDS. That's not a trade that I would make.
Totally. Yeah, I don't play on it, if you know what I mean, which is what I think that's what I'm trying to say. Some people play on it, but yeah, my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, my stories in frequently asked questions, which if anyone wants to watch, it is like, if you just click most viewed on my channel, it's the most viewed one, has 20,000 views, 201 comments, which is like the most comments I've ever had, obviously, and 455 likes. So I mean, that shows that there is a community online for all this stuff, and for even a rare specific illness. Like, it wasn't just a how to live with chronic illness video, it was just EDS in particular. And some people have said that they've actually like taken that video to their doctor and said like, look, this girl explains every symptom I have, and she's been officially diagnosed with it. Like, people have been diagnosed through my video and stuff.
So not only are you educating your own doctors, you're educating other people's doctors.
That to me is something I'm so proud of, that I'm helping anyone in any way like that. Like, that is just like, that is why I continue to YouTube and stuff, because of stuff like that, stories like that I hear. Someone else said, like, you know, they watched my video and something just clicked, and that was how I discovered that I had EDS. Nobody could diagnose me properly. Like, they diagnosed me with all these things, fibromyalgia, all the typical things. And finally, I was like, me and my mum were like Wikipediaing and just searching through things and symptoms and everything. And EDS came up on Wikipedia. We read it, and literally we screamed. My dad was in the bath. We like knocked on the door and we're like, we know what's wrong. And we went to my specialist, my ortho specialist, a week later. And he said, yeah, I didn't want to tell you, but I'd been figuring that that's possibly what you have for about a year, but I wanted to make sure first because it's such a serious diagnosis. So we're like, oh, cheers, thanks, you know. But that's quite a good thing, because it is a serious diagnosis. If you get diagnosed with it and then go and like Google it or something, and then find out later that you don't actually have it, like, that would be quite quite traumatizing. So yeah, it's kind of cool to be, maybe my video caused that aha moment for someone else that I had when I was like 14, and you know, that helped, you know, I had that aha moment that made me realize, oh God, I'm not just dying. I'm not just, there's a name. And when you have a name for the illness you're fighting, when you know the name of your enemy or whatever, like you know what it looks like, you know how it works, then you can fight it so much better than until you can put a name to it, you know?
I do know. Fortunately, I have been lucky enough that I haven't had to live that experience firsthand, but I certainly, for example, I have a friend, my friend has I'm not sure if she still suffers from this, but she had vaginismus, and a lot of her gynecologists, her gynecologists and general practitioners had no idea how to help her, had no idea what she had.
Yeah, because that's very rare. Yeah, quite rare, isn't it? And that's when you just have pain, right? Basically.
Yep.
Vaginal pain. Oh God, that must have just been so traumatizing.
Prior to diagnosis, she thought that she'd basically just have to live her entire life either A, suffering through sexual interaction, or B, avoiding sexual interaction.
Yeah.
Not by her choice, but because of her illness.
Yeah.
And so,
oh God, is there treatment for that? Is there treatment for it, or?
I think that there is. I don't think that it's just like, you get a pill and all of a sudden it's gone.
No,
I think it's a therapeutic treatment.
Like, maybe like muscle relaxers or like certain painkillers and stuff. God, yeah. Funnily enough, I have actually heard of that one. I mean, I think being a feminist, you do have quite a knowledge of like sexual health and stuff like that. And I've heard of that, but never known anyone with anything like that. And that must have been horrible for her. Bless her. It
was awful. And but then again,
especially as soon as embarrassing too. It's an embarrassing thing. To talk about. Of course.
But as soon as, just like you said, as soon as she had a label for it, all of a sudden she knew the thing and could fight the thing.
Yes.
And I mean, the reason I'm not saying her name is because at this point she has a healthy sex life, because she has through whatever means.
Exactly,
I didn't ask her for details, but for whatever means, she has been able to get past that. But up until her diagnosis, she thought that she would not. She thought that her life was just going to be miserable. So yeah.
And for someone who does gain pleasure out of sex and wants sex and stuff, that must have been horrible to just not, you know. I mean, if you're asexual or whatever, then, you know, that would be fine. But, you know, most people do want sex, and that would have just been so hard to, you know. I mean, that would just be awful. So awful.
It would, but she got her diagnosis and she fought it, and you've got your diagnosis and you are fighting it.
That is awesome. I love hearing other stories of fighters of any kind of rare illness and stuff. And
well, that's how I think of you. I mean, I tend to think of you as a fighter, and a fighter with a name like Bunny. It's a weird combination. But that's still how you're aligned in my head. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. A fighter called Bunny.
Yeah. We've been talking for well over 2 hours now, and
we have. I could talk for another 2, but we probably should wrap it up soon, shouldn't we?
We should. And before I let you go, I want to ask you, what do you have lined up in your near future? Because you've got a lot of ideas and projects and things and goals. What are you aiming for?
Well, when it comes to just my life, I'm looking for a job. I've applied to a few places like the Apple Store, which apparently takes a while to get back to you, but that could be an awesome job for me because they're very, very accommodating, and like I've seen people working there in wheelchairs and all sorts of things. So that would be great. But so I'm currently searching for a regular day job, but my ultimate dream is to make a career out of writing and creating, basically just creating and digital content creation and everything. So I think I'm going to be concentrating a lot more on my blog than my YouTube, to be honest, just because my blog is something I can upkeep even when I'm more ill. And also with, you know, the whole thing of, you know, being with someone who doesn't absolutely love having themselves fully online all the time. It does create a slight barrier to me, you know, if me and Ollie are going out to the museum or something, he doesn't really want me sticking the camera in his face like that, like, you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to concentrate on the blog, which I was planning on doing anyway. I don't know, my ultimate goal, which is actually something that aligns with Ollie's goals, is I've always wanted to open kind of like a coffee shop or something like that that's like has like local bands come into play and young bands and slam poetry and all that kind of stuff, and has books everywhere, and it's just like an arts cafe. And funnily enough, Ollie's dream is to open an arts bar. So maybe in the far distant future, we will open somewhere that's a coffee shop in the day and has slam poetry and book clubs and stitch and bitch clubs and all that kind of stuff. And then in the night is a cocktail kind of bar with music and art and all of his art on the walls, and then local artists, a place for them to show their art, because, you know, he's very passionate about the fact that, like, as a young artist, it's hard to find somewhere that will show your art. Like, he was very lucky to, there's a place called Steak of the Art here in the UK. It's kind of like a chain steak restaurant that allows local artists to, like, paint and draw on the booths and show their art. And they actually have like a Dalek booth and stuff. It's very artsy fartsy. It's very cool. And he was lucky enough to get commissioned for like it's a big round booth, and he drew all over it. I actually went and sat in it the other day, and it was really cool. But finding something like that is so difficult as an artist. So he's passionate about creating somewhere that, like, young artists can find a place to show their art. And I think that would be a really cool and future along the line goal for me and him, is to have a coffee shop / bar that's all about creativity and art and everything. So, but in the short term,
brilliant.
Does that not sound so fun?
Yes.
So great. In the short term, people just keep an eye on my blog and my YouTube channel and stuff, because there will be stuff coming. I'm planning like a with all this new comic collection and everything, this new comic addiction. I'm planning a like comic books. Well, it's not new. I've been doing it for like over a year now, but comic books for noobs video or something like that. So there's some videos coming up as well as blog posts. So
awesome.
Just keep an eye on it.
Will we see you talk about like feminist or women targeted comics?
Definitely. In fact, I've got right there. I've got the Cute Girl Network, which is a new comic I just bought. Well, actually, my mum bought me some comics, which was really sweet of her. Nice. Graphic novels, I should say. Yeah, that one's about a network of girls who warn other girls of their boyfriends if they've got like a shady past and stuff. And it's like
that should be a real thing.
Yeah, it should. It's the protagonists are a bunch of like skater girls and stuff, so it's so up my street. And then I've also got Giant Days, which I will take down, which is quite popular right now, and is a sort of coming of age series about girls who've just gone to uni, and it's their adventures in uni, and it sounds very very empowering and all that stuff, and yeah, and very much about female friendship and stuff like that. So I do have quite a lot of comics that are very empowering and feminism based, and Honor Girl is another one. Up there I've got Honor Girl. That actually came in my Landfall Freights box, which is a subscription box for graphic novels and comics that is entirely based around feminism and stuff like that. So that is really cool.
I'm looking forward to all of that.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, so there's lots of stuff coming.
That's great. In the chats, I'm seeing that Collie of the Wobble said that, Bunny, you're teaching me to be badass every day and fight. Yeah. Aww. Bunny the fighter. Matt Palka, so causing light bulb moments in people inspires the teacher in me. Yes, those aha moments that Bunny was talking about. So good.
Yeah, that's what being a teacher is all about, isn't it? Inspiring little aha light bulb moments.
I mean, I went into university thinking that I wanted to be a teacher when I came out, but I don't have the temperament for it. I don't. Tamara says,
yeah, I couldn't do it.
Tamara says, this has been a wonderful chat to be involved in. How often do you do these, Paul? I try to do 2 of these a month. That is my goal. I take hiatuses occasionally, like for holidays or whatever, but I try to do 2 live shows a month. And my next live show is actually going to be in less than a week. It's going to be on Saturday, February 6th, with Ant Lightfoot, Mr. Heavy Hand on YouTube. I highly recommend tuning in for that because he is just funny and so charming and so lovely. I think it's going to be great.
He's one of my favorite people on YouTube as well. I love him so much. We're planning on doing a dance recess together soon, if he can get down to Cardiff soon. So, yeah, that's going to be good fun.
That would be amazing. I hope that happens. I hope that happens.
Oh, it's going to happen. It just depends on when I get up to him first or if he comes to Cardiff. But I'm just going to go out there and say it. If you ever want to add an extra live show in every month, I would literally do this monthly with you. I love this. This is good fun. This is awesome. We could have like a monthly roundup of Bunny and Paul's lives.
That would be very cool. But you can also just do this on your own channel. And you can invite other co-hosts besides me.
I might try that actually. I don't want to just steal your idea of like, I feel like you're like the live show king on here. Like,
no. Like my friend Magic Cat Jenny, she's doing a series similar to this. It's on hiatus right now, but it's one where she will specifically interview small YouTubers about specific small YouTuber topics. And it's cool. I mean, she started after I did, but I wasn't in the slightest bothered by it. I love the fact that she does it.
Well, thank you for that. I might if I can, find some people who would be willing to do it, I might do that actually. And cool. I should mention, planning on starting a podcast soon with Ollie. That is something he's willing to do as a podcast.
Ooh.
So it's very much going to be, do you know Mysterious Universe at all?
I'm not very familiar with podcasts, I'm afraid.
It's about like sci-fi paranormal stuff. So that's kind of the style we're going for, but it's not just going to be about aliens and paranormal stuff and like all that crazy fun stuff that we personally bond over. I'm not saying we both, even though I've got an alien tattoo, we don't necessarily, I believe there's intelligent life somewhere else, but we're not crazy alien sci-fi people. It's just something that really is fun to think about. We're going to be talking about tech and comics and all kinds of stuff. So that is something to keep an eye out for sure. The podcast is in the works, like in the near future. So
very cool. Will you be sharing details about the podcast on your Twitter or on your blog?
Twitter is where I do the most like announcements and updating, as well as Instagram. Twitter and Instagram for sure. My Twitter, I believe, is still at bookish_bunny, and my Instagram has changed to @b.bybunny, as in be.bybunny. So yeah, that's where I do most of my announcements. I use Facebook for personal stuff, and my blog is just mostly for actual posts, you know. So
sure.
I'll definitely be announcing that for sure, though. Like it's something we're really stoked to work on together. So
excellent. So I hope that all the people who have tuned in who are not already following Bunny on all the social media start doing that. Star Pasta asks before we leave, what can you specify the name of that feminist comic and graphic novel subscription box?
Right. Yeah. Awesome. It is called Landfall Freight Co. If you look on my channel, actually, I have an unboxing of one of the boxes. They kindly sent me one, which is what Honor Girl came in. They kindly sent me one for free to review. But once I have the monthly funds to be able to afford it, I will be getting it for sure.
Awesome.
I was lucky enough in that box to get like a variant cover of a Lumberjanes comic and everything.
I saw that video. That was so cool.
Yeah, it was great. It was good fun. But that kind of shows the cool things they do. Like they'll throw in a few variant covers for a few lucky, like just random subscribers and stuff. And it's a great subscription box. I'm not a huge fan of subscription boxes, but that one's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, your channel is linked in the description of this video, so people can just click right over there. They can subscribe to you, and they can find that unboxing video.
Awesome. Good job. Awesome. You're on the ball.
Any last thing that you'd like to say to our viewers before we wrap up?
I don't know. If you have any more questions, feel free to send them to me on Twitter or Instagram or anything. Like if anything that we've talked about, if it's tweaked any, spurred any questions or anything, just send them my way and I'll either answer them right there, or maybe I could do another Q&A video, because I recently did a Q&A video and I kind of really like doing those. Those are good fun. So it's like a planned version of this, really, isn't it? So
it is.
Yeah, just if and I'd love to chat. Even though I said I'm trying to get away from social media a little bit, I do, especially late at night, love to chat with people. So yeah, feel free to give me a shout.
Excellent. Everybody do that. Everybody follow Bunny and then and ping her if you have any questions or you want to talk about stuff. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to, because I'm hungry, basically just because I'm hungry.
Me too, basically. Yeah, definitely.
But thank you to all of our viewers. I had so many viewers who are chatting and commenting with us. I hope that I didn't miss anybody I missed too many important questions. There was a lot happening in the chat, and I really appreciated that. Thank you to Bunny for being my co-host. It's been wonderful talking with you.
No problem. I miss you, man. I miss when we don't chat all the time. We need to keep in touch better. That's my fault, though. That is my fault, I'll admit.
Yeah, I'm generally easy to find on the internet. I'm not very far from the internet most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I've really loved this. Thank you for inviting me. I was honored when you asked. That was awesome.
Well, we've been meaning to do something together for what, like 2 years. So it was about time. It was about time.
Yeah, literally like 2 years. So yeah, 100% time.
So again, thank you to everybody for tuning in, and I'm just going to sign off with the same sign off I do at the end of my regular videos, and that is a reminder that tomorrow will be even better.
Awesome. Bye, guys.